I can't see you. I don't know why. I've got my controls are completely off. So without further ado, I hope everybody's enjoyed my little step in for Michael J, Michael L, however way you want to say it. And he will be back. He just was doing his electioneering stuff. And so without further ado, everybody, I will be back tomorrow morning in a few hours. Otherwise, until the next time, I'm going to say, if you tolerate this, then your children will be next. Thank you for sticking around with me. Been fun. Take care, everybody. Based Amy. Out.
And hello, everybody. We are here. It's good to be here. Douglas V. Gibbs, Mr. Constitution. Glad you're with me. Let's see if we can change my way this thing looks here. There we go. I don't like that either. Yeah, I'm trying to get my view because I'm recording to look the way I want. So hmm, sort gallery by first last. That ain't right either. I'm trying to get the gallery the way I want it, and it's saying that I'm not speaking. Let's see. Duh, duh, duh. Let's see here. I want to get it looking the way I want to. There we go. That's what I want. I found what I'm looking for. All right. So, because I wanted to make sure the screen, I'm recording. I put this now. Whenever I am on Patriot Soapbox, and I'll put it on my Rumble and my YouTube channel as well. And I wanted to make sure what it's recording also shows my lovely wife sitting next to me. And so we are in my office, which is a little section of our living room. So why right on the edge of the bookshelf, you can kind of see the kitchen there. Yeah, so yeah, see if I do this, then it hides that, but then it shows too much of that wall. So we'll just, since I don't have to worry about imagery of you walking by or something, we'll do it this way. So how you doing? We got a lot done today. Yeah, so we live on the Oregon coast, and we were out of town for a while, but now we're back and trying to do catch up because of where we live and the property that we have. We're constantly we're constantly weed whacking and mowing and got the tractor out and doing stuff. Plus, also this house we moved in 2 years ago, and this house was built in 1979 by my father and his friends. He was a bachelor. I always thought that his only marriage was to my mom. Turns out, I was talking to my mom not too long ago. He had a second marriage before that. They had had a child, lost the child. He had a very strange lifestyle by the time he married my mom, and she didn't want to put up with that. So within a short time, while I was either an infant or she was still pregnant with me, I'm not sure the exact story, they got divorced. He had been a bachelor ever since. Never again got married. Never again really had any steady relationship that I know of. And so he built this house for a bachelor. So it's got living room, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, rectangular kind of. Then in the middle of the house is a tandem garage, rectangular. Then on the other side of that garage, and I think it was an add-on because the wall that's attached to the garage looks like an exterior wall. He added a game room for his pool table and pinball machine and a bar. And he was a big time alcoholic and all kinds of other things. And and from what I understand, the plans were he drew what he wanted on a napkin and said, "Guys, this is what I want," and they just did it. Now, if you go to the property taxes, the house doesn't say that it was built in '79 on the taxes. It says '82, because that's when the county finally realized he had done it. It had been here like 3 years, and so they sent out the inspectors, and I don't know what it was like, if they were throwing a fit, if they were whatever. They inspected the house, everything passed. He got his paperwork, and the rest is history. After 20 years of having that home, living in it on 2 weeks off, I'm sorry, was it 2 weeks or 2 months? 2 weeks, right? Yeah, on 2 weeks, off 2 weeks. My father was an interesting soul. When I was a child, he owned a restaurant. I think it was two restaurants, like a dozen hot dog stands in LA, and then a fish and tackle shop in Long Beach, right by where the Queen Mary is, a couple of whale watch boats, and a couple of fishing boats. And nice home, two-story home, and his fire engine red 1965 Camaro. I think it was a 65. I was looking at old Camaros the other day, and I think that was the closest one to look to what he had, with an 8-track in it. So I grew up listening to rock and roll whenever I'd visit him. He'd put in that 8-track, and back in the 70s, and he then, as he got older, when I was 12, he kind of pulled a vanishing act. And then when I was 21, I saw him again at his sister's, my aunt's funeral. And at that time, he was working on an oil platform off the coast of Mexico. And he did have his captain's license already. He used to have the whale watch boats and the fishing boats. He had his captain's license for a long time. And one of his best friends, Rick, also got a captain's license. And then they went to work for a company called Green Seas, and they took turns captaining a particular oil spill cleanup boat. And Rick lived down in Southern California. My father had built this place. And so what he would do is during the 2 weeks he was on the boat and out to sea, he lived on the boat. And then during the 2 weeks he was off, he'd be up here. His buddy Rick was down in Southern California. So when he was on the boat for that 2 weeks, whenever they were, in port, him and Rick would get together and they drink themselves to a stupor, and then he'd go back to work. So we've got this rectangular house with 3 rectangular sections.
Yeah.
Built for a bachelor. So he passed away in 1999, drove his car off the road into a river after going grocery shopping with 4 times the legal limit for alcohol. Tells you about, the functioning drunk he was. And in 99, and I'm like, we're moving to Oregon. I want out of California. Oregon coast, it's a nice area. I love the woods. I grew up around Arkansas because my stepdad, my mom, both have roots in Arkansas. And so every summer as a kid, we'd go out to Arkansas. And so I grew up very familiar with the state of Arkansas, except I didn't like the bugs and humidity. I had uncles and cousins say, hey, why don't you come out live in Arkansas? I said, no, bugs and humidity. I'm not going to live east of the Rockies. So, and so this place is perfect. I get the country. I get the West Coast. I'm 4 miles from the beach. Mosquitoes are minimum compared to Arkansas. No humidity, or not humidity like they have in the South anyway. And she says, nope, not doing it. It was back in 99 when my dad died. Not transplanting the kids, not taking them away from their schools, not taking them away from their friends. My mom and dad are here. My sisters are here. I'm not going, my work is here. I love working. I'm not going to live in the sticks. Or as some people might say, BFE. I love the Oregon coast. Rottweiler, beautiful country. I've been to all 50 states. I've been around this entire country, and I've been around most of the world because I was in the Navy. And there is nothing more beautiful than the Oregon coast. The Maine coast and some of the Canadian coast back east, some of it, very, very close. Alaska, very, very close. Very, very nice. Extremes in weather, but it's beautiful like it is here. The Michigan coast along Lake Michigan, beautiful. But I think the Oregon coast is the best. Now, that all said, and chat room is still, I guess, talking a little bit about the blockchain and all that. And Rottweiler says, best part is the proximity to libtards. Actually, it is, because where I'm at is a very conservative area. Portland and San Francisco are my 2 closest cities. And they're also 2 of the craziest cities in the country. San Francisco is about an 8.5 hour drive to the south. Portland is about 8.5 hours to the north, north, slightly east, up to five. So I am as far as you can get on the West Coast from when it comes to both of those cities, proximity in the sense of in between them. I am at the point farthest from each of them if I'm going to be in this area. Sons of Liberty says he's from originally from Alaska. I had a friend
Oh,
I
wow.
worked with in construction who was originally from Alaska, and I remember talking to him about climate change, and he started laughing out loud, and he says, "Okay, well, let's talk about the polar bear, populations." And he'd explain to me that they're all either stable or growing. But anyway, get back to what I was saying. Brady, by the way, Warhamster's in the house. I'll get to you in a second. Let me finish my thoughts, sir. I am so glad you're here, actually. There's stuff we got to talk about. And that means I'm going to have to give Virginia one of these earpieces so she can hear you because I don't like it coming out of the computer. It
Oh, okay.
creates all kinds of havoc. But anyway, and so the area I am in my opinion, it's what I like to say is it is the San Diego of Oregon. It has the mildest weather. For the coast, it gets the least amount of rain. We only average about 85 inches a year. People in Southern California go, so we get over the weekend what they get, all year long pretty much. But yet we get the mild weather, and it's not rain like in the South. So when I talk about getting rain, and people from the South go, "Oh, I couldn't put up with that much rain." It's not the buckets thrown on your windshield garbage that you guys get. It's somewhere between sprinkle and drops most of the time. And we do get drops. Sometimes it's a pretty good wind and it's coming down, but it's not like those thunderstorms of the South, man. And my wife never believed me. I used to talk about when we would go to East Texas or Arkansas or something when I was a kid. And I mean, it would be crazy. I mean, that it literally was like someone was on your hood throwing buckets of water on your windshield. Those of you in the South, you know what I'm talking about.
Tennessee.
And so she was talking to me for a while, saying, I would consider moving to Tennessee. I'm like, keep that thought in your head. We drove through Tennessee on the way to Washington, D.C. one time. We hit two major thunderstorms. These things were fast. They were hard. They lasted about 20 minutes. You know how it is in the South. If you don't like the weather, wait an hour. And she turns to me after the second thunderstorm of us. First one, man, I tried to drive through it at 20 miles an hour. Second one, I got off freeway immediately and waited it out. And she turns to me after the second one. She says, "Doug, I've changed my mind. I don't want to move to Tennessee."
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. So that's where we're at, and so that's the reason why when I started the show, I'm talking about all the work we're doing because this house was made for a bachelor. We're trying to make it for a couple. It's actually perfect for us. It's not a big house.
Yeah. I like it.
We have spent a lot of money from the sale of our other house to get this thing where it is.
And we're still not there yet.
But the great thing is we don't have a mortgage. Our property taxes are about a fifth of what my neighbors in California are paying in my old neighborhood. For a little postage stamp of the house where you can spit out your window and hit the next house. Um, and so we love it here. But anyway, that all said, there's a lot to talk about today. Here, well, go ahead, Brady. Unmute yourself and here so that you can hear what he's saying. So,
Which means,
does it work? You okay? All
Hey
right.
Doug, hey Virginia.
hey, how are you?
Oh, I got like maybe 20, 30 minutes of
Oh, awesome.
a hall pass
A
to,
hall pass.
Oh, wow.
to
Okay.
come raid your show. So
Okay.
I thought I'd stop by and say, hey,
That's cool.
you know, Doug's talking about the weather in Oregon. I spent the age of like 7 through 17 living in Oregon, and I was a baseball player.
Uh-huh.
And there's a little known fact that the best groundskeepers in baseball across the country all come from Oregon. You know why? Because
They got to
you're
deal
sitting
with
there
the
all
moist
spring long.
weather.
You have no idea whether it's going to rain or not. Whether, you're all geared up for a game and you have no idea whether it's going to rain or not. But we are the masters of putting a baseball field in a playable order on very short notice. I was like 15 years old when I knew how to spray gasoline on an infield, set it on fire just to make a game playable that day. So that's Oregon weather in the spring.
Rottweilers ask a beaver or duck. So here's the thing.
Ducks.
I like the Ducks. I've always liked the Ducks, mainly not because I've liked the Ducks in my all my growing up, but because I hated USC and UCLA so much. And what better team to pick to piss them both off than the Ducks, right? So I've always had a soft spot for the Ducks. But since we've been up here, we've gone to a couple of Oregon State games, Beavers,
Yeah,
and
Beavers.
it's a neat crowd. It's a lot of fun. So I like both teams for different reasons. But I'm an Arkansas Razorbacks fan first, actually. My whole
Yeah.
family's from Arkansas. I'm a Hogs fan first before anything. Well, that and of course
Well,
Navy.
you see what I'm wearing right here, Arkansas guy?
Yeah. The thing
Hook 'em
that
horns.
steers and queers is that anyway.
Oh my God. Yeah, so bad.
What? Oh, am I not supposed to say that in public? I don't care. But
How many
anyway,
how many football championships has you won, queer?
who Arkansas?
Yeah. No,
1966 was it? And I had to share it with Texas, unfortunately. That's beside the point.
whatever you
Uh,
say, Bill Clinton.
When Arkansas Razorbacks won the national championship in basketball, I was in a room full of Duke fans, and that's what they kept saying: Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton. And then at the end of the game, they were saying nothing, and I was cheering. So but anyway, greatest
Wow.
sports moment of my life: national championship game against Duke. I'm the only person in the room not rooting for Duke, except for my buddy Nacho, who is a North Carolina fan. And when it was over, and and you had Day and Mayberry and the Big O and why am I the better player? I can't think of his last name now. It starts with a C. But anyway,
All right,
yeah,
real
great stuff.
quick before we get into something actually meaningful,
Okay,
I want to address Rottweiler's question about beavers versus ducks
okay,
because I have a story and I'll tell them relatively shortly. I was at the worst football game ever played in history. It would have been sometime around early 1980s because I was too young to drive. And one of my buddies, older brothers, had just got his driver's license. So we decided we're going to show up for the Civil War game, Oregon versus Oregon State.
okay.
Now, both teams going into this game were 0 and 10, 0 wins, 10 losses.
Wow.
And they're playing the Civil War game. This is well like 3 years before Oregon got Nike money.
Okay.
Okay. That game, we showed up. We were actually, we left where I lived right outside of Portland, place called Lake Oswego, drove whatever down to the game. We're wearing like shorts and like, I don't know, like a hoodie. It was nice weather when we left. Nah, it was pouring rain the entire game. It
Oh
got
my
colder
gosh.
and miserable the entire game. Neither team ever got inside the 20-yard line on either side. The final score of the game was 0-0. There was something
Oh,
like 27 punts, and we sat there and watched the worst football game in history, and both teams finished 0-10 and 1. I was there for the worst football game ever played.
I,
Oregon
I would
versus
say it
Oregon.
probably qualifies as the worst ever. Yeah.
That actually is the worst game ever played. And you can
So
look it up. Go find your favorite search engine and look up right now, worst college football game ever played. And
mhm.
this will be on one of the top 5 hits you get. I was there that day.
Rottweiler has been quite vocal in the chat room about Oregon. I don't know if he has roots there in Oregon, but he said that Eugene's kind of libtard too. Pretty much everything along the 5 north of Medford
yeah.
and Grants Pass is libtard,
How about this?
except for in between where you get into the little rural towns, but like the cities, all those college towns, and you got
Every
Corvallis, you got Eugene, and you got
Yeah.
Salem, and you got Portland. They're all libtard.
All right. So now, because this is a political show, I will answer that and say every single college town in America is a libtard town because the Fabian socialists have been infiltrating our institutions and they started with education.
Right. Good point.
Every single college town is libtard. Period.
Now, along the coast, Coos Bay is the biggest town. Astoria is probably the second, and they're the two that have the strongest Democrat-leaning, vote. But the rest of the coast is pretty conservative. The funny thing about Oregon, though, is you come across a lot of the artsy fartsy hippies from the 70s who love to do their art, but they love their guns. It's a weird combo watching that. But
Yeah.
anyway. All right. So now I had advertised on my website and my email that we were going to talk about Delaney Hall, ex post
Yes.
facto, election fraud, fundamentally transforming America, UFOs, and the leash in Iran is getting shorter. Whether or not that is over yet, I don't know. Is it one of those topics you wanted to talk about, or do you have something else to bring to the table?
Me?
Yes, you.
I just came here to raise your show. So if you want to,
Just to raid the show.
if you want to
he
do it,
almost said to raise the ratings, but no, I'm kidding.
if you, the whole Iran thing is not something that I'm going to say anything too original of. What other topics do you have? You only have me for about 10 more minutes.
Okay,
So
so one of the topics I talked about yesterday on both shows is this. There's a law in Oregon, and this is, and even though this is an Oregon thing, understand this affects the whole country. There's a law in Oregon that was passed back in 2019 that is having a chilling effect today. And what happened was, I'm looking up the number of the law right now. Okay, Senate Bill 1008, signed into law in 2019 by former Governor Kate Brown. And what it did is it eliminated life without parole sentences for crimes committed before 18, even in cases of aggravated murder. So now enter into the situation, the murder of Sahara Grace Dwight in her Roseburg home. Dustin Wallace in 2010 at 16 committed the act, and it was so depraved. It defies human comprehension. Raped, murdered, and then after she was dead, continued to sexually assault the body, broke all of her bones, and the list goes on how just disgustingly morbid, horrible, horrifying that it was. He entered the little girl's bedroom when she slept, sexually assaulted her. She woke up, she fought back, suffocated her to death, and then continued doing the violent sexual assault of the body. And for this monstrous act, he received a life sentence without possibility of parole. And the judge said that Wallace poses too great of a risk to the public to ever be allowed free. Because that law I just mentioned ago, he is now going to have a parole hearing on June 3rd. And it says this in the law, because it was made retroactive. In other words, past cases also now fall under the law. Well, that caught my attention. Caught Alan's attention yesterday. He's the one who brought it up to me, and I said, I hadn't thought about that part of it yet. Retroactive. What's the problem there, Brady, with making a law retroactive?
ex post facto?
Ex post facto. Article 1, Section 9 says the federal government cannot make ex post facto law. Article 1, Section 10 says the states can't. It's an unconstitutional law in the first place, ex post facto. Now, and here's my thing. I'm going to do everything I can tomorrow. I'm going to start working on it tomorrow morning because I figured I'd have to do it during the week. Because I'm going to try to get a hold of the father of this girl. He has standing to sue the state for passing a law that violates the Constitution and is allowing this monster on June 3rd, so we got to move quick, to get a hearing and be considered for parole. Whether or not we could get a judge fast enough, a lawyer fast enough, I don't know. But this is kind of a project that I suddenly have decided and I didn't know about this law. I only learned about this law because this issue came up because of this upcoming potential parole for this monster. When it comes to ex post facto law, though, here's what's interesting, and this is where I want your comment. Normally, on all the cases I looked up, where I've got evidence from past cases going all the way up to 1798 that states cannot have ex post facto laws, cannot have retroactive laws. It was the ones that have to do with criminal punishment. It was always to keep a state from making the punishment worse. This is doing the same thing, just in the opposite direction. So, and I know you're not a legal or anything. Neither one of us are, and I'll put that out there as our little PSA. That we are not lawyers. We can't give advice on law, blah blah blah. But we do observe the Constitution and what it says. But those, you would think, right, that those precedent cases would apply here, right?
Yeah, I would agree, but I would actually take this to a more let's look at the fundamental concept of judicial courts handing down punishment. What is the entire purpose? And it's to be a deterrent
Right.
for future people to commit the same crimes.
Right.
Right.
So I'm a huge believer in capital punishment. 100% believer in
Oregon
it.
has capital punishment in their constitution, but the one of the governors kind of pushed it aside and said,
And I'm going to give a caveat to my statement.
okay,
You know, the whole purpose of the criminal justice system is to deter copycats from doing the same thing and thinking they can get away with it.
right, that's a good point.
Like when you take a life, you've shown that you are basically you haven't bought into this entire agreement of society that we respect each other and our really and our God-given natural rights of life, liberty, and property. When you start taking away those things, you're no longer a member of society. You're not going to change your mind once you've already proven that I mean, you can't be rehabilitated from that. That this whole nonsense that from the left, we can rehabilitate. No, they don't have the same principles as us. They can't live in our society, period. You can try to educate people that commit misdemeanors so they don't do it again. But when you start taking a life, no, that's it.
Well,
Period.
and society shouldn't have to take that chance. Hey, if they truly whatever, that's between them and God, and God bless them, and go see your Savior. But society
Nor
can't take
should
that chance.
nor should
Society
we have
cannot
to
take
pay.
that chance because we don't know what's going on inside that person's head, no matter whether whether they've been reformed or not, blah blah blah. And we've got this leftist argument of reform. We can't take that chance as a society.
It came from the Fabians, by the way. Once again,
Mm-hmm.
as I've been doing this series with the Colonel Roxanne Turner Watkins, we've been going through the Fabian Society. Yeah, that whole concept of prison reform and rehabilitation came from these do-gooders who had more time on their hands after the Industrial Revolution. It's awful. These ideas that came from them, these egalitarians. No, if once you're a killer, you're a killer. Period. Now, my caveat here on this is I believe in the death sentence 100%. I believe in very, very strict penalties on robbery and theft. That's called a deterrent. So other people say, oh, guess what? I might want to consider the consequences of my actions. That's called being an adult. Actions have consequences. My caveat when it comes to the death penalty is yeah, we have government that prosecutes you,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't always do it honestly, and they don't always do it. So to get to the death penalty, you've got to get me a confession, video evidence.
Yeah, it has to be pretty. Yeah,
It's got to be really compelling evidence for the
mm-hmm.
death penalty. Because I don't trust the government at all. But with a caveat, these light sentences, letting people out on bail and stuff like that, forget that stuff. The only purpose of having a criminal justice system is to be a deterrent so more people don't commit crimes.
We're
Be a
seeing
deterrent.
cases of people with over 100 convictions and are still out there walking around because their sentences were so short or it was time served and things like that.
Yeah,
But
Congress.
yet, boy, they were really sure willing to put on some long sentences on people they thought they accused of being a bunch of insurrectionists on January 6th. But dare I get into that?
Well, go ahead. But it's funny is Congress almost got the Lake and Riley Act correct.
Mm-hmm.
Almost got it right. That was actually a good, well-written bill. Almost a well-written bill. Lake and Riley Act. Lake and Riley, if you guys don't remember, Kate was, murdered by a guy who should have been deported, who was deported like 3 times, came back in, released by a liberal judge, and came back and killed this young college woman. And the Lake and Riley Act serves to keep that from happening. It almost does it. And of course, it was in the House. It actually was like almost 100 Democrats had to sign on to that because it was so obvious what a travesty that was.
Yeah.
But now you got people out there like Ro Khanna, Thomas Massey's best friend, out there saying that, this is a racist bill. No, it's not. It's called justice, not racism. Don't commit crimes.
Yeah, well, just because when a law is passed, a particular group falls into, whatever, doesn't make it racist. That's just, the consequence or a good consequence or bad consequence. I don't know how you want to look at it, but that is what it is. But the thing is, to get back to the original idea here, Senate Bill 1008, retroactive in its application, it's basically designed to change the legal consequences for actions already committed and sentences already imposed, to make it lighter or to get rid of it. And this is exactly what one of the things that the ex post facto provision in the Constitution, was trying to forbid, was a misuse of law, and the ability to go back into something that had happened and suddenly criminalize it or not criminalize it, depending on which way you're looking at it. And the legal precedent is clear. I mentioned that. I mentioned a moment ago. Supreme Court consistently held that laws that are retroactive, that alter punishments and legal consequences, they violate the ex post facto law. In the 1798 case, and understand, folks, 1798, the founders are still around when this is going on. Calder versus Bull, look it up. Defined that ex post facto laws are those that aggravated crime, or make it greater than it was when committed, or change the punishment and inflict greater punishment, in this case, lesser punishment, than the law annexed to the crime when committed. And this is essentially what this Oregon law does. It changes the punishment from life without parole to the possibility of parole, effectively lessening the legal consequences for Wallace's horrific crimes that this dude should never be able to see the light of day regarding, ever again. I mean, he should be dead. Should have been a death sentence, but Oregon had a governor put a moratorium on death sentences, and they've been abiding by it ever since. The principle is that laws cannot be applied retroactively to change legal consequences. That's the point. That's the whole point of the ex post facto.
Well, it's sort of like, you remember Calvin and Hobbes?
Oh, yeah.
So they call it Calvin ball. And Calvin just keeps getting to change the rules just to make sure he always wins. And that's what they try to do. That's what they try to do with ex post facto stuff.
Well, it was, or as the old saying goes, they keep moving the goalpost.
Yeah, exactly. Virginia, what do you think about the capital punishment?
Asking a woman.
Oh, wow. So you're asking me if I agree or disagree?
That someone should be put to death for crimes so horrific that we believe that they should be.
Well, I'll make it even simpler.
You know what? That could be a tough
All right,
question.
he's gonna make it simpler.
Okay,
Hang on.
Okay, make it simple.
If somebody kills someone else, should they forfeit their own life?
I would normally that's a pretty deep question to ask, because me being a woman, and
Yeah, you're going to allow your feelings and emotions and your maternal instincts to get in there. Plus, you have a psychology
my
degree.
feelings are going to go into that, and I have to look up the whole picture.
Sure, but if it's malicious, okay. So
Then-
let's use proper
But
terminology.
let me say,
If that person was killed maliciously,
and the person was underage.
no, I'm not. No, that's not what he asked. He's not talking about underage.
Okay.
He's talking about just the capital punishment. He didn't say that.
Doug, let me
This is what I look
rephrase
at.
it.
Well, let me put it ready. If someone takes a life, then his life should be taken too.
Right.
But then,
Yeah. Where you were getting
Yeah.
all messed up was
But-
because someone under 18.
Right,
Should that
yeah.
matter?
you know what? I wish you would have asked me that.
If it's that malicious, I don't think so. The difference between 16 and 18 is so minimal that when you kill somebody,
Well, let me ask you this.
in the process, what he was doing,
Okay,
that is a sick, depraved mind.
That is a sick mind. But let me ask you this. Okay, can a person change?
It's possible, but unlikely.
But who am I to say they cannot
That's between
change?
him and God.
Right.
But society can't take that chance. That's what I was saying earlier.
Right.
Whether or not he changes is not the point.
Right.
The fact is he's got a track record so horrible that society can't take that chance. How many times have we seen on the news of someone
Right.
who committed a horrendous
Horrendous
crime,
crime.
get out early, and the first thing they do when they're out and on the streets again is they do another one. And
So,
I'm not
so
just
Doug,
talking legally, anybody.
Well, no, you're right. It is a proven fact. So let me tell you this much. Okay. I honestly believe if something horrific happened to one of my children, of course, I would want that
Well, you'd be the
person.
first one to take.
I would be the first one to say, hey, I don't want him out of jail. I don't even want him in jail. I want him put to death.
Right.
But I think my soul and what I believe in is godly. I don't know if that would
Capital
happen.
punishment's in the Bible.
It's okay. Okay.
all right.
Because
So
I want to
Virginia,
make sure, you know what I'm saying? I
It
would
comes from the Bible.
I
The reason
would-
we have capital
Right.
punishment
right, but
is from
but
biblical law.
But I want to can live with the decision of taking somebody else's life after he's been taking another person's taking somebody else's life. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
so
You know,
Virginia
I want to
brings
live
up
with myself, making the right choice and right decisions. Hey, I did the right thing. I can live with myself. I can sleep at night and not have to worry about it.
So
Does that make
Virginia
sense?
brings up a really interesting point, whether a minor can opt in to the societal agreement. When we enter into a society, when we agree to be part of a society, we agree by a certain set of rules, not necessarily regulations, but values.
Right.
And one of those is in America, we believe in everybody's got the ability for life, liberty, and property. When you take away someone's property, that's a big problem.
Right.
You don't necessarily, that's not a death sentence.
No.
You should be in prison for that. When you take away my liberty, well, that's a bit of an issue. That's a civil issue, and we can talk about that. But when you take away my life in any way, shape, or form, you've broken the civil contract, and you've done so willingly and willfully. Do you have any right to re-enter our society? No, you don't. And the way you
Well,
deter
yeah.
other people from doing it is the death penalty. I'm a huge proponent of it. Murder, you're gone. Rape, period. Death sentence. There's a few other terrible crimes, and this is not even remotely negotiable to me. If it is proven in a court of law, in front of a jury of your peers, in a way that cannot be disputed, the bar of evidence has to be incredibly high for the death penalty, incredibly high. Gone. Otherwise, taxpayers get to pay for you for the rest of your life? No. Hell no. That's the other part of the problem is we got people that are serving like 60, 7 life sentences, and we're
Yep.
just paying for them. And they're living a life of luxury behind bars. They don't care. They're part of the prison gang mentality. No. Put these people out of their own misery.
Well,
I'm
and
a hardliner on this.
man, get back to biblical principles. I mean, God is a just God.
Yeah.
He believes in justice,
Right.
and the penalties to fit the crime. So don't make big things out of little things out of the big things. So for a minor crime, you shouldn't be giving these huge penalties, and for a huge crime, you shouldn't be giving minor penalties.
I agree.
So first of all,
Right. I agree.
but when it comes to who was it? Paul in the book of Romans, indicates that if I have done something in which there is to be capital, I deserves death.
Mm-hmm.
I do not refuse to die. So he recognized capital punishment even existed and that it was, something that was going on too, and he understood it. And so and this was in actually Acts, not Romans. It was in Acts 25:11. But anyway, so this idea is then if the punishment must fit the crime, what punishment fits malicious murder? And I say malicious because people get confused about the Ten Commandments, and they say, "Well, it says
Yes.
thou shalt not kill." No, it doesn't.
Thou
If
shalt
you go
not.
back to the original language, it says, "Thou shalt not
Not
murder."
murder.
No, thou shalt not kill maliciously. There is a difference. Killing sometimes happens
Yes.
in war,
Yes.
accidents, whatever.
Right.
But to maliciously, understanding what you're doing out of the pure hatred or evil or whatever reasons, then to take a life is to forfeit your life. I agree with you 100%, sir.
Now do Islam.
Yeah, Islam's a whole different animal. Exactly. Matter of fact, I just what he's doing is I sent him a picture.
Oh,
So what he's referring to, just for the audience,
oh my goodness, Dave.
it's like, you're pretty good. That was pretty quick. I get that. A friend of mine sent me this image. No, you're the one that sent me the image. Was it you?
You just said, didn't you say Brady right now?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who sent me the image now. I think it was. It was you, huh?
What was it, Todd?
But anyway, well, no, I sent it to Todd once. Oh no, it was Sally that sent it.
Oh my
So
God.
Sally, mutual friend of mine and me, and sends it out. And Bette Midler put out on social media, "Hey, NRA, how many lives did you take today?" And then a guy named Brian Cates responds, "Zero. Now do Planned Parenthood. Should have did also now do Islam."
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Brian Cates. I haven't actually met him or ever spoken to him, but I've been following him for a long time. He's a pretty
Okay.
good journalist. A little more on the conspiracy side than I am, but Brian's death. One of his closest friends is the only other person I do podcasts with all the time is Colonel Roxanne Tanner Watkins, and she is dear friends with Brian Cates. And Brian's a pretty analytical guy, and he's got some interesting theories. So I'm glad you brought him up. I'm a big fan of Brian. Don't agree with him on everything, but he's definitely on our team.
All right, very
Did I
good.
say anything that actually responded to what you just said? No, I didn't. I just
Yeah,
wanted to say
yeah,
that.
you're. All right, I got something else for you.
Uh-oh.
And the only reason I found out about this is the chat room was chittering about this before I came on the air, and I was watching the chat room. And this is someone who I've met before. I bet we've got a hold of her. She'd remember, and I'd love to get back in touch with her. Tina Peters is scheduled to be released. I heard tomorrow. I haven't done all the research yet. And so when I went to look it up, and see, normally I don't use Google and Bing and Yahoo and DuckDuck. I don't care. Usually I'm using other search engines because those ones are so in the tank for the left. But
Because you're smart.
because I'm trying to hurry, I just typed Tina Peters in my URL bar, and that automatically goes to Google because I never changed it. And the first one that comes up is a New York Times headline: Colorado braces for release of Tina Peters, unrepentant election denier.
Wow.
Now, if you know who Tina Peters is, she was a clerk who realized that there had been fraud in the Denver area, and she got information from one of the machines, or got into one of the machines, and she shared the information with my pillow guy,
oh my
Michael
goodness.
Lindell.
Mike
Doug,
Lindell. Thank you.
Doug, let me correct you.
Okay.
So what happened was Colorado's Secretary of State, and I'm trying to remember her demonic name. I'll get it in a second here. Ordered all of the county recorders to delete all of their information.
Okay.
And Tina Peters said, that doesn't sound right. So she preserved the information.
Okay.
That's all she did. Now, the accusation against her was because she actually shared the information that she preserved with people that were,
like
trying
Mike Lindell
to file court cases.
because they're election deniers.
She didn't deny a damn. She admits that the election happened. Nobody denies the election happened.
Of course, they use that language as trying to compare anybody that questions the elections to Holocaust deniers. But anyway, continue.
This is why this is why the Republican Party is so useless to me. You get people. We've seen people show up in the Trump 2.0 in front of the Senate for their confirmations, and you get these idiot senators try to put them under a Soviet struggle session. Do you deny the 2020 election? And these people can't even come up with an intelligent answer. The answer is very simple. No, the 2020 election did take place. I don't deny that. What actually happened is there was so many anomalies that I have questions over the legitimacy of the results.
Mhm.
We would like to ask those questions. They were supposed to be asked on January 6th, but a staged fake insurrection happened, and you went after every single Trump supporter that was there that day. The fact that we're not allowed to ask these questions would, we're asking legitimate questions. You stopped counting in 5 major swing states, which has never happened before in history. You blamed a water link in Georgia. You had people in Michigan putting boards up so nobody, legitimate election observers could not observe. That's their job. We have questions. The fact that you would not let us ask these questions kind of suggests you have something to hide. And you're going to tell us we're election deniers? Guess what? That's all I have to say on that. So Tina Peters actually had evidence
Mhm.
of what happened that wasn't supposed to happen. And the fact that she was willing to share that, or she preserved it. She's what, 75 years old, 70 something years old
Something
now?
like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something.
And her,
She's 70.
she's got a kid who served in our service and lost his life. You're going to you're going to call her a villain, an election denier? You know what? Doug, can I cuss on your show?
I'd rather you not, but if you have to,
Fuck you people. Tina Peters is an American hero. Period. End of story.
we have had the opportunity to meet her twice.
Really nice. Really
And the
nice
second
person.
time we talked to her, I mean, she was ready to have me on her program. She was so impressed with. She saw me speak. I don't know if you remember when I was in Lake Havasu, and I really hammered on Reynolds v. Sims. Uh, it was I think 3 years ago,
Mhm.
right before it was like about 3 months before they wound up putting her in
Right.
jail. I think it was 3 or 4 months
Yeah,
before that.
she talked about
And she
that.
she
Yeah.
talked about it. She says,
Yeah.
hey, it's gonna,
It's gonna happen.
next, yeah,
Yeah.
I want to get you on my show before they incarcerate me.
Right.
We never got a chance to do it. And
Everything
Virginia
else,
actually had
yeah.
great conversations with her, even when I was busy selling my books and stuff. And they were like off the corner, two women just talking. If I get back in touch with her, I definitely want to either get her on one of my programs, get on her program, and I do that, especially understanding your knowledge of the details. Definitely something I want you and her in the same
Yeah.
show, Brady. Would love to have that if I get back in touch with her. I am going to
Done.
attempt to. We have
Done.
a bunch of mutual friends.
Yeah. How do we? How did this conversation start? I get so freaking.
Well, I was talking about that Tina Peters supposed to be let out tomorrow, and the first
Yes.
reaction by the left, like I said, I looked it up on Google, and the first link is New York Times. Colorado braces, because she's so dangerous, I guess. Braces for release of Tina Peters, unrepentant election denier.
They made it sound like she committed murder.
Right. Well, to them, to that's what they want the American people to think. That's the reason why they that's why they do
what
this.
She did was be honest.
Well, here's the thing. You
So
gotta
the
understand,
question is,
Virginia.
can you be honest anymore? I mean, are you going to get criticized?
Not if you dare to rock the establishment.
I mean,
Well,
so much for honesty.
Yeah, Virginia. This goes back to my question. They call us election deniers. Then we're not denying an election happened. We're just saying there was enough anomalies. We'd like to ask questions.
Anomalies and irregularities that should, and if nothing's wrong with it, open it up. Say, okay, here, let us prove it's a fair and honest election. Prove it
Thank
then.
you.
That's true.
And
If
that's
it's
what
not-
we're
if-
trying to do on January 6th.
Right.
And okay, all right. So let me just let's just throw this out there once and for all.
Okay.
So what happens on January 6th is there were a number of senators and congressmen that were willing to say, we're not ready to certify this election. We have questions. We want to send it back to the states. That was about to happen at about 1 p.m. Eastern, right when the breach, quote unquote, breach of the Capitol happened. It wasn't the breach of the Capitol that happened. What you had was Capitol Police started sending out riot things like smoke bombs and stuff like that at these people that were peacefully showing up to show that yes, we have questions. which you're allowed to do under the first right to assemble First Amendment.
Yeah, that entire January 6th thing
Nobody,
was First Amendment.
Yeah.
nobody was violent until the police started firing smoke bombs into the crowd. That's an absolute fact. That's actually going
Agitation.
to come out.
Agitation.
Harmy Dillon is all over this, and I think this is all going to come out.
Okay.
There's thousands of hours of footage that have never been released. The quote unquote J6 committee that was deleting their own material. Why would you do that if you didn't have anything to hide? I don't
Exactly.
know.
That's a good point.
Exactly.
This is all going to come out, I
And,
think.
and we've had the discussion of people that I know personally. And well, one gentleman and his friends that went there, and they got there
Yeah.
after all the hubbub. All they did was show up on the grounds. They got into a huddle. They prayed about it after talking to a few people, realizing what happened, and they all wound up going to jail.
It's terrible.
So, to me, just to wrap this up, Russiagate was a Hillary Clinton campaign smear against Trump. Is completely made up. The Steele dossier, all that stuff.
Yes.
The Mueller report, the whole Bob Mueller investigation was done to cover up the Russiagate stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Trump was on the verge of declassifying all of that information, which would have put a lot of these people behind bars forever. Therefore, he could not be reelected, so they stole the 2020 election. It's entirely possible they used COVID as an excuse, which was an overhyped flu.
No doubt in my mind.
To justify, no, now we have to have mail-in ballots so we can steal elections. That's how they stole 2020. And J6 was a staged opportunity to cover up for the stolen election. It's one crime to cover up another crime,
Another crime.
to cover up another crime, to cover up another crime. This is the truth.
Well, that goes on anytime someone lies. Anytime you're deceptive, you have to have a new lie to cover up the old lie. And after a while, you start not understanding what the truth and a lie is anymore.
But we're talking about
and your lies become so ridiculous because they're for the purpose of covering up lies that you can't even keep track of the truth anymore.
What we're talking about here is the greatest crime against humanity in history. It's one cover-up after another. And it may even go all the way back to Uranium One, which I'm halfway into this conspiracy theory. Trump is demanding the uranium isotopes from Iran, which probably came from Clinton selling the uranium, an Uranium One deal in 2014 to Russia, Rosatom. So this all might be a cover-up for a cover-up for a cover-up. We don't know.
Yep.
The uranium stuff, I'm 50-50 on. We'll see.
Well, and get back, and we mention the media quite often. Now the media is the accomplice, and they help with the cover-up. And I have a copy of a 60 Minutes back in the 90s where they went into how the Clintons were selling secrets to the Chinese. We don't have a media that's willing to be honest anymore. And even back then, the media was largely lefty. But if something was obvious, they'd at least report on it. Now, it's like, what was it? I mentioned this the other day that two things with New Jersey and the Delaney Hall had come up. One that an ICE officer had been bitten.
Yeah.
And the other one was, I'm trying to remember what the other one was off the top of my head. I can't remember what the other one was, but so I went to look up them. And once again, most of the time, I go to, my search engines, I go to Brave or I go Yandex is one I use, Brave is one I use. Ecosia, and there's a few others. Forkandservice.com. There's a few others. But my point is, I look it up on Google and understand Google is going to give you lefty first. if Fox News or New York Post something shows up, it's because there is no reporting by the left on such thing. And when I looked up those two things about Delaney Hall, that were very, the other one was about that one protester getting caught, basically telling the ICE officer, he's going to, kill the whole family. I've seen your face, you're all dead, that one. And both of those stories, the first one, the biting, I could only find Fox News. Everything else was social media.
Wow.
The second one, I could only find Fox News and New York Post. All the rest of it was social media. The left media was completely silent. And so here's the thing that we also have to understand. Often it's not that the media lies to us. It's that they pick and choose what to tell us so that they can get us to react the way they want.
That's a good
And
point.
then sometimes they do lie to us,
Mm-hmm.
but more often than not, it's what they allow you to know or hear or see. And so when it comes to Delaney Hall, when it comes to Tina Peters, when it comes to all of this, that's what happens. And but because anybody criticizes that, especially Trump, oh, you're violating the First Amendment. There's no law being made saying that you can't report. It is a complaint, it's an observation that you're not reporting or you're lying. Thoughts?
Agreed. I mean, 100% agreed. What do you want me to say? You want me to expand upon the truth?
Well, it cracked me up because
Oh my gosh.
I'm looking for anything online, and literally the only websites that came up through Google, New York Post and Fox News. Nobody else. Nobody. Even not a peep about the crimes by the activists, the agitators at Delaney Hall. But if you type in Delaney Hall, there's all kinds of news that is a bunch of bull.
Well, I mean, I don't know what you had on your agenda for your show tonight, but you're like spoon feeding me the topic of the media being full of bull,
Right?
and well, that's like a 10-hour show. So I'm gonna I'm gonna try to.
Oh my gosh.
So I'll do a 2-minute answer here. I'll try to keep it short.
Now you're fine.
One of the things that I've talked about, and Doug's heard me say this, is we're living through Gutenberg 2.0. And what does that mean? Well, Gutenberg was the guy who invented the printing press. And prior to the printing press, the people who had a complete monopoly on information and basically literacy itself was the nobility, the elites, and the Catholic Church. They told you what the Bible said because you couldn't
Mm-hmm.
read it for yourself. They
Mm-hmm.
told you what the rule of the law of the land was, the rule, what the rule of the law was, because they were the ones that had, I don't know, the swords, and that was prior to Gutenberg. And when Gutenberg press was invented, what you saw happen was people could communicate through things like newsletters and pamphlets across Europe, and literacy rates exploded, and people were able to actually interpret the Bible for themselves. People were able to find out what was going on in one hamlet, 20 miles away that they didn't know before. They were able to communicate. And this whole idea, the free exchange of ideas, is what classical liberalism is built on. And the people that are watching this, we're all liberals. We're classical liberals.
Right.
Forget the way that they've stolen our word. We're the classical liberals. We're the ones who believe in free speech, due process, and all the important things in life. If you're watching this, you are a classical liberal. I guarantee it. And that's what Gutenberg did, and that led to the Renaissance, the Reformation, people questioning the Catholic Church, which was I don't if you're Catholic out there, it's not a problem. You're still Christian, but your church is been questionable in many ways. You have to understand the way the power elite maintained their power for almost 1,000 years during what we call the Dark Ages now. Your firstborn son inherited the land. Your second-born son went to the church. Your third-born son went to the military. You have the three arms of power. You have the landed elite, you have the church, and you have the military. Everyone else was basically lords and serfs. That was the system. It worked really well for the people at the top of the food chain, not so well for the others. Gutenberg comes around, and all of a sudden we're able to freely communicate. And all of a sudden we've got this explosion of freedom and free markets and everything like that. Well, that led to 1776. That was the culmination of people like John Locke and all these amazing philosophers that sprung from Gutenberg because of the free exchange of ideas. The power elites always wanted to take that back from us, and it was a problem. It was very problematic. And then they seized the means of communication again. First of all, we had the telegraph. Okay, wasn't a big problem. But you get to the 20th century and you had the radio, yeah, and television shortly thereafter. Well, who owned the control of those things? Those are the power elites that wanted centralized government, that wanted socialism, centralized control. That's what they wanted. And the 20th century is the bloodiest century in human history. And fast forward, we get to the internet, which they were using to do their color revolutions across the world until they lost control of the internet. Because let's be honest, Doug, Virginia, and I wouldn't be here if they had control of the internet.
Right.
We're able to tell, to tell our truths, do our research.
They've sure tried on certain platforms, but there's always another place. There's a free market.
So we're living through Gutenberg 2.0. They've lost control. The globalists have lost control of this. They're trying to get it back like you wouldn't believe. But we're winning. We saw that in America. We saw that in 2016 with Brexit. We saw that in 2016 with Donald Trump's election. This outsider who wants to challenge the establishment system. I mean, I don't agree with everything Trump does, but he basically took on the system and won. The GOP,
and as an outsider, he can't, because he doesn't have the political aspirations. He's not on the inside. He doesn't have the things that they normally use to pull their strings, and they don't know what to do with him. And that's the reason why Spencer Pratt's freaking him out, because he's just like Trump. He's an outsider who's just speaking truth.
Right.
Spencer Pratt.
People want the truth now.
Yeah, agreed, Virginia.
Yeah.
Spencer Pratt's.
People want the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spencer Pratt's campaign is the most brilliant thing I've ever seen in my life politically.
Right.
And Doug, you and I both know that our buddy Josh and I are working on that. We're trying to take that to the next level with other people, but that's off camera. To finish my point, we're living through Gutenberg 2.0. Everybody watching this show has escaped the matrix. We've escaped the control system. This is how we win. We are living through the second evolution of the Renaissance right this second. This is why everything Doug says, everything I'm trying to say, is so freaking important, and share it with everybody who's got an open mind. Let me just finish my little diatribe for a second.
Okay.
We have dinner with my in-laws every Sunday night.
That's awesome.
And I'm sitting here in the middle of freaking New Hampshire, and I spend way too much time indoors. I need to get out sometimes. So I went out to this barbecue place. We're going to pick up the dinner from a really good barbecue place, Texas barbecue. It's pretty good. And as a born Texan, I give it a B+. But I go in there. 1 second. Hi, baby. I'll be there like 2 minutes. Okay. All right, so I'm going to close and let you guys have the rest of the show without me.
Hmm.
Because I am a newlywed and I do have to.
You
I'm
have to do
talking to the
what's right. There you
bartender,
go.
and they're just talking about scuba diving, which is one of my passions. We have a great conversation. So I start talking to this bartender, and he flat out says to me, he goes, "Oh, I'm a socialist."
Whoa.
Well, that's interesting. I go, what does that mean? And we start talking about it. And the
The
way I
best
see
way
it,
to handle people is usually to start asking questions. So kudos to you. But anyway, go ahead.
yeah, it's exactly. I go, I'm not. I'm a capitalist. And he looks at me because we totally liked each other talking about scuba diving. Well, I mean, this guy's like a bro. He's like asking my phone number. We gotta go. You gotta teach me what you know about scuba diving. And then he goes, I'm a socialist. I go, what does that mean to you? And what I say is, what you find out is during this conversation over the next hour, I shape the conversation. I go, let's find out what we agree on. So he wants to open up a bar. And he goes, I think, but I also want to provide health care for our workers. I go,
Hmm.
I'd love to invest in your bar. You're a great bartender, and he is. And you have great food, whatever. I'll invest in that. What does that mean? Why do you want to invest? He goes, I think we should take care of the people who work for us. I go, I agree. I would like the people who work for me to be well taken care of. So we're morally agreed. I just don't want the government to mandate that I do that. And you saw the light go on in his eyes. And then we continued the conversation and everything we agreed on, the same principles, the same morals, the same values. I came back to him and said, do you want the government to mandate that you do that? And he said, no, every single time. I go,
Hmm.
then you're not a
You're
socialist.
not a
Yes,
socialist.
yeah.
And these are the conversations we need to be having. So I don't know how we got to that from there to here.
It's a very good place to finish your part. Yeah, because and it might be a good thing that the wife showed up because I was getting ready to tee you off on something else. The unconstitutional transformation of America. Began with Obama's what he said, but fundamentally transform America, but really didn't. It began way back with Hamilton. It's been this slow process. And now we got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saying
Mm.
that she has ambitions bigger than becoming president. My ambition is to change this country.
Oh my
Presidents
God.
come and go, but single-payer health care is forever. A living wage is forever. Workers' rights are forever. But that kind of ties into what you were talking about. So, but I
What
can't tee you off on that this time, so you got to go. But that might be something to talk about in a new future show.
what I'm saying is these people that are our political enemies,
Mm.
they're not evil. They're just uneducated. And if you have conversations with them and they say, okay, I what the,
And you have a
why do they think?
responsive conversation with them, not a reactive one.
Yeah. And the $1 million thing is, and then what? So I think we should have universal health care. And then what? Who should pay for it?
Yeah.
Well,
Mm.
and you can have these conversations if you say if you agree with them on their ethics, their principles, what their claimed principles are, and you say, okay, and the fundamental question, and this really comes down to the fundamental question of the founders is, yeah, you want everyone to have health care, but are you allowed to take money out of my pocket to pay for it?
Exactly.
Are you
A-
allowed to steal from me?
And if you
Because
do have one of these conversations with people and they do say, "Oh no, I'm okay with government mandating it," then and mandating everything, then it comes to the next question. In that type of system, who innovates?
well, and who forces the hand into my pocket?
Hmm.
Are you okay with the government stealing from me to take care of your egalitarian views? And I'm not. I'm just not okay with you stealing from me. In fact, I may actually resist that. And that's the fundamental question of
Right.
government.
Right.
Doug in Virginia,
Been more than
I,
2 minutes.
Yeah,
Who's
I
counting,
know.
Doug?
I got some mea culpas to go. Thanks for letting me raid your show.
Oh, pleasure's all mine. I'm glad you were able to.
I am out of here.
All
Good
right,
night,
take
everyone.
care. Bye.
Okay, very good.
Good.
Did you enjoy that?
You know what's interesting about what Brady said?
Go ahead.
When a person says something about I'm a socialist or whatever, I don't know why they feel they have to say that first in the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Why do they feel the need?
So your first response is, well, I didn't ask.
I didn't ask, you know. But then when you get to know the person and you start uh pulling everything apart, you begin to see why is it that you're a socialist? Why is it that you think the way you do?
Or that you think you're a
Or you
socialist.
think you are based on what you heard? Because you know when you watch that show, oh my goodness, here's Johnny.
Oh, you're talking about on Jesse Waters
Right.
when Johnny
And
goes out there with his
these
microphone in the
people
crowd, yeah, in the public.
They don't even know themselves why they believe the way they do.
Well, they don't know. They don't know much
So
of anything other than their selfish, narcissistic desires.
So why did they say there's something we don't even know what it actually is or what it actually represents or what it actually means? And then you get to know the person and they get to talking and they're like, oh, I don't really want that. So you're not really what you say you are. You're not a socialist. You actually believe this, or you're not what you say it is. You know what I'm saying? So I think if you want to get someone to talk, you want to mention things that you might, what do you think about this? And then you get to really talking to them, you know what I'm saying? Then you realize it's not what the person's actually not really a socialist.
You know what fascinates me too
It's not really
often
a communist. You're like,
is these people, what they are calling for
yeah,
is an agenda that violates the Constitution across the.
right.
It's a complete opposite of what the Constitution created.
And they don't even know they're doing that, though. Is what it's
Well,
basically
yeah,
right?
but no, I think they do.
They do. Okay. All right. Okay.
I think they're liars. They'll act like they've wrapped themselves in a blanket of the Constitution, and they'll accuse, President Trump of, acting unconstitutionally on this, that, and the other. I'm actually writing a book right now about that because the allegations of unconstitutional activities by the President of the United States, President Donald Trump, is pretty extensive by the left. And so what I decided to do, and this is while we're on our way to getting ready to go to Orlando, went for our vacation,
Right.
and we were actually on our way to the airport when I was thinking about it, and I started jotting down notes on my computer at the airport while we're waiting for our plane to get aboard our plane. And basically I'm like, okay, if he's unconstitutional, explain how.
Right.
And then, so I'm looking up their argument and say, okay, how is that unconstitutional? And then I explain and most people don't understand even the nuances of the Constitution. And I even get into rough discussions with people in my own chat rooms over the Constitution because sometimes we want the Constitution to mean or say certain things and it just doesn't, but we misunderstand that our ideas are actually damaging anyway. I'll give you an example. This idea that the president can ignore what he considers to be unconstitutional laws and not execute them. He doesn't have the authority to interpret the Constitution. It's not his place to decide whether or not a law is constitutional or not. If it's the law, he is to execute it. If it is a bad law, if it's unconstitutional, then the legislature needs to reverse that law. Well, what if they won't? And what happens is we, the people, we act like we are in the stands watching a game and there's nothing we can do about it. Well, look, the ref let him do that. We're the ref. We are the referees. We're the ones that say, whoa, wait a second. That law is wrong. Pull all those dirt bags out of there and replace them. But we don't. We don't even understand the Constitution enough to know if the law is messed up. And then when we do see it's messed up, we want somebody else to do something about it, like the courts or the president. It's not their job to interpret the Constitution. It's our job to interpret the Constitution. It is our representatives to pass laws that are in line with the Constitution. And if it's bad law, if you have a single person or a single group that can shoot it down, you have just created a king at that level. And see, that's what the Democrats push. See, when the president is one of their guys, they want him to be the king. He will execute the laws he thinks are good and not execute the laws that he doesn't like. That's the reason why you couldn't get Biden or Obama to execute any immigration law. My first response was, it's a law. They've got to execute it. Their job is to execute the law, to faithfully execute the law in the United States, regardless of what they think of it. If you've got a president who's able to make decisions on whether or not what the Congress passed and what the people have called for is unconstitutional or constitutional, you have just created a king. Now that it's not their guy in the presidency, now they're screaming he can't do anything unless he gets permission from the Congress. What they're trying to do is make Congress the king. Congress decides. Congress determines whether or not he's allowed to. They're not, constitutionally, it's none of their business to micromanage the president. They're not there to micromanage the president. They say, well, what about the courts? And so then they use the courts to dictate, oh, well, see, the court judge said, don't defy it. You're defying the rule of law. Unless, of course, the judge disagrees with them, then we have a problem with the courts. They can't be king anymore. See, they want a king either in the judiciary, the executive branch, or the Congress that matches what they demand. And if you dare deviate from that, then you're the one who wants to be a king. When in reality, you're deviating from them trying to create a king through whatever they have power over. If they have no power, then they accuse the other side of being king. When they have the power, then they try to create kingly powers within that branch, whatever branch they have power over. And it's an amazing game because, see, I'm explaining this, and for a few of you, lights are turning on. The average person can't seem to grasp what I'm saying. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. What that means is that the processes, the authorities granted, the way things are supposed to go has to follow a certain way. And what it did is it created three branches. They're not co-equal. They're different. The judicial branch is supposed to be the weakest. They're given authorities. They're not supposed to go beyond those authorities. If an authority is not given to any of those branches, to the federal government in general, then it belongs to the states. And what if the states start acting tyrannical? Then we need to also be involved. Our problem is we keep thinking that being a citizen of the United States is a spectator sport. We're supposed to be involved. Well, they did this. Then don't let them. Then vote them out. Then file whatever needs to be filed. Replace them. Get involved. Run yourself. But we're so busy pointing, and it drives me nuts. And then we look for this leader, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate a president of the United States like Trump, who is an energetic president, a firm-handed president, yet he doesn't typically, I've not studied every single thing, but the things I've studied the most, he has not violated the Constitution. I have not found anything he's violated the Constitution yet, except for a handful of small things that are in their infancy, and then their ideas. So they're not even in play yet. And if they become law, then it changes the whole story. Like I said, I'm writing a book about this. We got like 26, 27 chapters. Originally I had 24, but I keep finding more things to talk about and keep expanding it. Hopefully it'll be done the next week or two. I'm proofreading right now and adding stuff. Half right. Constitutional depends on how I feel that day. That seems to be the case sometimes. For some people.
So what's the topic that we're gonna, the Delaney Hall?
Well, well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about them trying to take over. They play this game that they're so constitutional and they're not. Talking about, the left, in their constitutional whatever.
The Delaney thing that's going on has to do
Delaney Hall. This is
this has
okay.
to do, okay, that has to do with the people, the immigrants, right? The illegals that are being held are not being taken care of properly.
Okay. Well, that's the accusation. See,
Right.
you already said it the way they're saying it, so it sounds like you've fallen for the lie. You
No.
said, oh, it's because they've been, well, they haven't been. There's been accusations by leftists who lie.
They do.
Saying, oh, well, they're not being cared for properly. They're being fed rancid food, so on and so forth. And yet they have no evidence. They're just saying it. Now, remember, these are the same people who said that Trump was putting illegal aliens in cages. Then when they provided the images, it turned out that the images of illegal aliens stuck in cages was from Obama as president.
Got it. No, I'm not saying that I believe him. I'm just saying that these people, I mean, they'll find whatever little thing, take something small and make it big. Then they present it to the public and the news and all that and the radio, and people actually believe it.
Well, and you got to realize these people, and when I say these,
though, it's really sad because I'm sure these people are treated well, but I mean,
well, I'm not sure of it, but that's what I'm told,
I'm
and
sure
and I'm and I believe the people that are telling me that.
right.
But do I know for sure that they're being treated well? That they're for sure that the menu that's been presented to me by federal government is what they're receiving? I haven't seen the evidence. Right now, it's hearsay. Yeah, and as I was saying yesterday on my two shows, there's always three sides to every story, right? Yes. What he said, what she said, what's really happening.
Yeah. So we need someone from the inside to tell us.
But see, hang on. So here's the problem.
Okay.
The accusers are saying this is happening.
Right.
And the other side saying it's not happening. And the accusers say, all right, so to prove it, let us take a look. And then we'll go out there and tell the people what's really going on. Do you believe that the accusers will be honest?
No.
So then what needs to happen? There needs to be a neutral, right? But that's not what's happening.
No.
And the accusers are saying, well, if you don't let us look, that means it is a problem. But if you do let them look, they're going to say, see, it's a problem.
Oh, geez. So, well, okay.
And I'm like, okay, show me pictures. When you go in there, I want you to be wearing a body cam then.
Okay, I like that.
You want to sit there and tell me that this is going on.
Okay.
Rottweiler just put something that
that makes sense.
Rottweiler said something very interesting. Inside every small problem is a big one looking to get government funding.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. That's in the chat room. For those of you who are watching this later, you didn't watch it live, you missed out. So here's what you do. Next time I'm on the air, you want to participate live, rumble.com/user/PSB news. That's capital P, capital S, capital B. It stands for Patriot Soapbox, capital N, news, EWS. All right. So rumble.com/user/PSB news. They used to have rumble.com/PSB news. That channel, for whatever reason, doesn't have anything recent. So it's on the user channel. You can also go to Twitter. You know what? Let's make it even easier.
Oh, okay.
Go to douglasvgibbs.com. My site, Douglas V. Gibbs, DOUGLAS, V as in victory, GIBBS.com. And before the shows, hit the radio link, find one that says For the Republic or Friday Live, and all the links to go to Patriot Soapbox are there. Or if you missed the show, you do want to watch the video later, I'm now putting them on rumble.com. Douglas V. Gibbs and youtube.com/Douglas V. Gibbs. And you can go to my videos link at douglasvgibbs.com to see that. Now, that said, getting back to the point here. One of the problems we have here, Virginia,
Yes.
honey, love of my life. By the way, your wife is beautiful in the chat room. So
Thank you.
I know I married up. What can I say? But she likes his ugly mug for some reason.
Oh.
But anyway, hey, 42 years coming up in August, so time's gone by quick.
It'll be 2 years when? Is it June or July 6th?
July 9th
That's
will be
right.
2 years that we moved here on the Oregon coast from the pit of hell, also known as Southern California. So anyway, to get back to
the
Delaney Hall
okay.
see the violence at Delaney Hall. You got to understand this par for the course. This is what the left does, because you got to remember that the ideologically warped far left Democratic Party's foundational understanding of how to progress. Because see, they can't win in the arena of ideas.
Right. So they have to.
Their ideas are rotten. So if you had, let's do it this way. Remember that apple that had that rotten area?
You just cut it out.
Well, yeah, but what if let's use that as a hypothetical. So we have this apple. We go through a lot of apples. Well, I do like apples, mainly with peanut butter. And she'll eat an apple every once in a while. Yeah. We get a lot of deer around here, and I like and we like to cut up the apples, toss them to the deer.
So we buy this is the 5 pound?
And there was this one apple, and it came out of the bag this way.
Yeah.
And a good quarter, maybe a fifth of the apple had this kind of rotten area. So I took it out of the bag and I saw that, and we put our apples kind of like in this basket thing.
Yeah.
So I put it at the top where the rotten area is facing out. So I knew to grab that apple first, cut off the rotten area, use that apple to throw, the good part, throw out to the little animals. Mm-hmm. And so now if I was a mean, deceptive, nasty person, and I wanted you to eat that apple,
you turn the apple around so
I would turn it where you couldn't see the rotten part. Right. And then I would tell you the apple's fine.
Of course.
It's tasty.
Because you would want me to eat it.
Enjoy it.
Because you'd want me to eat it.
And then if you got to the point and you say, well, Doug, this part's rotten.
You would say, cut it out.
No, I would blame it on somebody other than me. Right? This is what they do. They know that their message is rotten. Mm-hmm. So they can't show you the rotten part. Or it's like the old saying about putting lipstick on a pig.
No.
You put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig.
It's just lipstick on the lipstick.
If you put little sugar sprinkles on top of a turd, underneath it's still a turd. If you cover enough where you can't see the turd, that doesn't mean it's good enough to eat.
That's gross.
But that's what they do.
It's gross. The dog wants to go potty. Let me take him out potty. That's just wrong.
So then we'll go outside. Make sure there's no deer out there. So, but that's just what they do, is they hide the rotten part. They can't tell you straight out, oh, we're a bunch of communists and we want to feed you communism. So what do you do? Petey or Link?
Petey. Link didn't want to go home.
Okay. Doggies.
Okay, so
what he'll do is he'll go to his bed and then complain later that you didn't let him in.
Dad. Okay. It's kind of hard sometimes to be honest, because people are not going to take you for what you say.
No, I'm always honest.
But then people are going to
now there are times that you're not to be honest. Hey, Doug, how do I look in this dress?
No, I prefer honesty.
Actually, you always look good in the dress, but I'm saying that in a general manner for
I understand.
There are times, but for the most part, honesty is the best policy.
It is.
But they can't be honest because they're trying to feed you rot.
Therefore we need to discern the difference between
that there's rot there.
There's rot there, but
so when I gave you the apple with a rotten area, the first thing, knowing that I might try to do something, you would turn the apple, go up, there's rot,
right?
Instead of just taking a bite.
But at the same time,
but most people they believe the left when
because I trust you. I know you won't do that to me. there's trust in that relationship. So therefore, I trust you, so I know you wouldn't. You'd be honest and tell me the truth. Virginia, you'd face it that way, so I would.
Excuse me while I throw away a couple of rotten apples. No, I'm kidding.
There's no more rotten apples. But what I'm saying is, so Dag, is that it's sad that we need to watch what we say, if or
Well,
how we walk, because
We don't have to watch what we say. That's their problem.
but then they make
No, that I don't care. That's their problem. No, that's their problem. If they are going to be so unreasonable, then don't associate with them.
Do we just completely cut them off?
Absolutely. That's what they did to you. Now, now here's the thing.
But
I will never
right?
cut someone off for disagreeing with me.
Okay.
That's not what I'm saying. So
Okay.
don't misunderstand me.
But
But if they are such a Trump derangement syndrome
Okay.
sufferer,
okay.
that I say something and it just freaks them out and they're crying and they're screaming, and, oh my God, I can't be around you. Okay. Sorry. I'm not going to change my mind. I'm not going to stop talking about it.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you can't handle that conversation, sorry.
Understand is why a person or people get to the point that they're
Because
fighting over
they
something,
want you to be silenced.
and I'm thinking to myself,
Because they want you to stop. They want you silenced. They want to be able to say what they want, but they don't want you to say what you want.
well, that's fair.
They want you silenced.
Right.
It's an old Marxist tactic. And that's the reason why I say then cut them off. I'm not being a jerk.
I never said you.
I don't need so
I'm just
if you go and here's the thing.
Okay.
If they have Tim also stay married. I'm not well, if I know people whose wives are suffer from Trump derangement syndrome, and these people don't. And some of them are even as constitutional or conservative as me.
It's just really sad, though.
Um,
I'm saying.
So, Ricky Roush, quit trying to cause hate and discontent in the chat room, please. Gutenberg's first Bibles were printed in Latin. That's because that's what the church at the time was doing. You're right. Regular peasants didn't speak Latin.
No.
And there could be, and there is a debate over the reason for that. And that's the reason why the Protestant Reformation period was such a big deal. Because then along comes Luther, who says, okay, well, I'm going to start printing them in German so the average person can read it and study it, and so on and so forth. There's no reason to just put that statement without context in the chat room. You put that text in that out of context in the chat room for the purpose of causing hate and discontent.
What?
You got to give context. If you're gonna throw stuff out there without context because you're trying to get a reaction, don't put something in the chat room. All right, so.
No, thank you for that, because I agree with what you're saying. If you're only going to if you can't get in your side of the story or what you believe to be truth, and they're not going to allow you to, then I understand it makes sense, because you don't need that negativity in your life. And therefore you need to cut it off. And it makes it, because
it goes back to, it goes back to an example I was going to live.
Okay.
That I was going to give.
Okay.
Before I kind of got off on Ricky there.
Okay.
If someone is drowning,
yes,
you want to save them.
Well, that's basically
if they want to be saved, or they appreciate you trying to help them out, and you swim out there,
right,
and they work with you,
of course,
then you pull them out of the water.
Right,
but if if they are grabbing their hand and pushing your head underwater, and they're fighting you, and if your attempt to save them will drown you both, you let go, you let them drown, you swim back to shore. Not because you're mean, but because you both dying in the process makes no sense.
Yeah.
If they are completely unwilling, completely unable to understand, and there's no way, you're fighting, you're doing everything you can, and they're pulling you under, and there's no way you can save them without dying yourself, you let them drown and you swim back to the shore.
You know that happens because they're panic, right? I'm just saying panic is they don't know how to.
Perhaps.
I'm just saying.
But the reason doesn't change the fact that you're going to die if you continue to try. I don't care if it's because they're panicking.
No.
If they're pulling you underwater, and you will die if you don't swim back to shore.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's because they're panicking, if it's a good reason, a bad reason, or in between reason. The fact is, 2 people will die or 1 person will survive. Now, once again, If you can talk to them, you can bring them out of their panic. You can reason with them. That you're a good enough swimmer that you can bring them back, and they're working with you, and they're flapping their feet, or whatever, like a little duck. Then that's one thing.
As long as it works, right? They're little paddles. As long as it works. No, I understand what you're saying.
So
It makes sense.
but see, your psychology and your maternal instinct kicked in. Well, yeah, but sometimes they're
yes. Yeah.
That's not. I get that, but that's not the point.
Yeah, I understand.
The point is, 2 people die or 1 person dies, which is better. So if you have someone in your life who is so out of whack, I'm not yelling 2020 liberty. I'm raising my voice a little. Come on now. If you have someone in your life who is philosophically, politically, emotionally, whatever, dragging you underwater, and they are unwilling, they're unreasonable, they are, because they're so libtard or they're so narcissistic or whatever it is, cut them loose.
It's better to just walk away.
And that's the reality. And that doesn't mean you don't love them.
No, of course.
It doesn't mean that if they're willing to be reasonable, you're not willing to talk to them again.
It's true.
But you can't have that in your life. And so now you get back to the point. I don't know how we got on that, but
Neither do I.
so you have people like that though that are so gone. And they are so militant in their thinking that they become like animals, petulant children. Evildoers are like animals or petulant children.
Mm-hmm.
All they understand is they want what they want, and if they don't get it, they will fight for it if that's what it takes. Bite, scratch, kick, whatever. And that's what we're dealing with. And so what you have is an ideology because of that that's glorifying violence. The only thing they've got left in their bag of tricks is to beat down their opponents. And that's why you've got, people like Hakeem Jeffries and Kamala Harris out there saying, well, we're going to beat, they're going to try to beat us, or we're going to beat them, or we're going to beat them into submission or whatever. I can't remember the exact language. I've got it somewhere, but I
just can't believe that they would say stuff like that, because seriously, these are people that we look up to. Well, supposedly, they're supposed to be people with higher intelligence and respectful and be able to socialize with people. But the way they talk, it makes you wonder, well, where did they get their mannerism from?
Well, but because you got to realize when you have this type of ideological way of thinking,
it's pretty warped.
It whatever it takes becomes a part. I mean, it's like in 2015, there was this Islamic terrorist attack in Paris. Killed 130 innocent bystanders.
That's wrong.
And John Kerry was Secretary of State at the time. But because he is a part of that militant, violent, leftist ideological thinking, he gave sympathy. He expressed sympathy for the murderers.
What?
He said, well, sometimes, well, he kind of did what you did. Well, sometimes they're panicking. Oh, well, sometimes, they feel like, that they're really angry about something. They feel angry, so they lashed out. It's that reaction that you had. Well, but it doesn't matter. It's wrong. I don't care if they had all the good intent in their heart. If you're out there killing 130 people, it's wrong.
I agree. It is wrong. I'm not denying it.
Black Lives Matter, same thing. When Black Lives Matter riots are going on, what do the Democrats say? Oh, well, sometimes people, they get angry and they do this. You got to understand, they come from an environment that's different from ours, a tough upbringing, and because, they feel this way. It was wrong. Cortez, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, refused to condemn looting in 220 American cities, claiming, with the Black Lives Matter stuff, claiming that their actions was driven by broader societal issues. Oh, but they were panicking, or they didn't feel the same thing that you were saying about the person in the water.
Right.
This is what they do. This is how they play the game.
But the thing is, I know the difference in people and certain things they do. I'm like, you know what?
You know the difference. You can discern
right.
Why do you know the difference?
Because the way I was brought up.
No, that's not the reason, but that played a part in it.
Right.
What other reason?
I believe in God.
Okay, that's a large part of
I
it.
know the difference between
And that's
God
actually,
wisdom.
and both of those, there you go. Say it again. Say it one more time.
Between right and
You
wrong.
know the difference between right and wrong. Believing in God, good upbringing, all of that contributes to that.
Right.
But in the end, they don't know the difference between good and wrong, right and wrong.
So they're messed up people. It's basically
Well,
what you're
but
saying.
why do they not know? Because they decided it's relativistic.
Because they don't care.
Because their ideology is more important. The ends justify the means.
That's really stupid, but that's beside the point.
That's what they believe.
There's so many people who lose their lives every day, and these people, the Democrats, are making excuses for these other people that commit the crimes.
Right. Well, give me an example. All right. Here's another good example.
That should stop, though, Dad, because that just makes it okay for the people to continue doing harm to people and killing innocent people. This should be put away, for the lack of a better word.
Well, yeah, but you can't put someone away because of what they think.
But okay, but their thinking comes out. Okay.
We live in a free society.
Okay.
You have freedom of speech. The problem is the freedom of speech, the rhetoric, and all that is pushing the crazies to do this stuff. But in a free society, you can't, because then you become no better than the left if you're going to sit there and say, well, yeah, but if they're thinking this depraved thought, we need to, because they think what you think is a depraved thought.
What I'm saying is, when a person allows their thinking to become an action, then we have an issue.
Yeah, but until there's an actual crime, you can't do anything.
But that's terrible, because a lot of
Virginia, what is this, Minority Report?
No, but a lot of people are losing their lives.
I get that.
Okay.
But in a free society, well, you know what? We're pretty sure you're going to commit the crime, so you're arrested. That's not how it works.
No, I understand. No, I understand they have to commit the crime. I think it's disappointing.
But get back to my point, though. But you're taking me off the point here. The point is that you have a left that glorifies, that gives excuses for the violent.
It's wrong, Dad.
Activities.
It's just wrong.
Okay, so remember the.
It's just wrong.
Remember the murder of the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, right?
Yes.
That was what?
That was a health issue,
two
right?
Decembers ago.
Yeah.
No, it was not a health issue.
Okay.
It was he was a health care CEO.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
And so because he's a CEO, he's healthcare, he's head of what? A big corporation.
Yes.
We have in our society decided that I'm watching the chat room, and so I'm being asked to give a little bit of acknowledgement to Ricky Roush's comments. I gave a comment to his comment, nothing more. And I don't remember what I was thinking before Ricky Roush's comment, Tina Anon. I'm just going where I know I'm at. But anyway, I'm in my 60s now. I don't remember that far back. But anyway, so
go ahead.
But getting back to the CEO and the point here.
Yes. Okay.
And the whole point all along is that we have a get back to Tina Anon. I do kind of remember. The whole point here is that we have this ideology that's like an animal or a petulant child.
Okay.
That wants their way.
Okay.
If they can't get their way, they kick and scream and they fight, they throw a tantrum,
like
and they do whatever it takes.
Right. Okay, 2-year-old.
And if that means drowning the both of us, they're good with it. Getting back to the metaphor of someone drowning.
Okay.
Now, so get back to some of these examples. So you've got the healthcare CEO.
Yes.
Brian Thompson, head of a big corporation.
Right.
And we've got this, the left has been pushing this idea of socialism. We all need to be equal, power to the workers. Therefore, all corporations, all people who run corporations, all people who are high and rich and wealthy, they're bad. They're the enemy. They're the bourgeoisie. Okay? It's so bourgeois. So, now, that said, just because I disagree with that thinking doesn't mean that I am on the opposite side and think that every single big corporation and big corporate person and is a wonderful person either.
True.
And my problem is I don't mind big corporations. I don't mind when they get very, very rich, very powerful, and do really well. They produce a lot of jobs. They move product. That's a good thing. My problem is when they collude with government. When government and corporations collude together, or when there's shenanigans to create like monopoly type situations, whatever,
Okay.
then we got a problem.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I respect
So,
that.
but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this general idea: big corporation bad. They all must be stopped. Well, that's a Marxist idea. Okay, that's very communist idea. So when Brian Thompson, that United Healthcare CEO, was murdered on December 4th,
Yes.
2024 by Luigi Mangione, what happened? The left elevated him to some type of celebrity status because he killed a big corporate monster.
Their thinking
right?
has worked. Yeah. I mean,
So
yeah.
let me finish my thought here.
Yes.
And so on ABC's The View, Sonny Hostin said, well, I'm not unfortunately surprised that people are celebrating the use of violence. I'm not surprised that this young man thought that change could be accomplished through violence. In a sense, she was given an okay to it.
Yeah.
Oh, but getting back to what you said about in the water, well, they're panicking. Well, they're panicking, so you understand how they can get violent. So I get it. No, you don't give any credence in that way.
Oh,
and then you've and that type of thinking is what led to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And then when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, what'd you get from the left? They were excited. They were gleeful. A University of Michigan professor wrote, even if you believe violence isn't the answer, it is a solution. Karen Ataya, a columnist from the Washington Post, declared, refusing to tear my clothes and smear ashes on my face in performative mourning for a white man that espoused violence is not the same as violence. Of course, so in other words, celebrating the violence isn't being violent.
Oh, then what is it?
But then you can't arrest people for feeling that way or acting that way or saying those things, but you can when they act it out. And we live in a free society. And then if you dare say, hey, that wasn't the right thing to say, that you are encouraging violence, then they say, oh, you are trying to violate my First Amendment rights. No, I'm being observant. Well, you shouldn't judge me. I'm not judging you. I'm observing that you're being a piece of crap.
Wow.
And I'm saying something about it.
They have a comeback for everything.
They do. So you got these left-wingers advocating
violence,
applauding political terrorism, violence.
It's wrong.
But see, my point, the whole point I was trying to get to early on, that Tina Anon was trying to get me back to, is that left-wingers advocating and applauding political terrorism and violence, this is at the very foundation of their political ideology.
Wow.
They are Marxists. They are communists. Do not believe them when they say they're not. Karl Marx held that violence and terror are essential political tools to gain power. Vladimir Lenin said to create chaos in Russia, he encouraged mobs to take the streets to riot and loot. He promoted the use of terror. How can you make a revolution, he asked, without firing squads? Mao summed up the Marxist approach: political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. This is how they think. Every once in a while we get someone saying, 2020 Liberty keeps saying I'm yelling. I'm not yelling. When I am
excited,
that's not the right word.
Okay.
When I am very passionate or emphatic about what I'm saying, I do raise my voice. This is one of my characteristics. I am not yelling. Trust me. If I was yelling, you'd know it. But I think it's because I have spent my life with a lot of people in my life that were narcissistic, hard left, libtards, stick their chest out, think that they're everything, and will shout over you. So maybe that's a part of the reason why when I'm passionate and trying to get my point across, I raise my voice. I'm trying to raise it over the noises that are against me. This is what I do. turn it down a little bit while I'm talking. I don't know what to say. I'm not going to change the way I am naturally. 2020 Liberty. I am relaxed. Trust me. My blood pressure is probably better than all of yours. Well, okay, 2/3 of yours. What was it last time? 117/79 or something like that.
Mine.
Yeah. But anyway. But to get back to my point here is left-wing thinking is a violent thinking. They cannot win their power in the arena of ideas. Pick up Noah Rothman's book, Blood and Progress. Rothman was a senior writer at National Review, and he contended that violence designed to advance political objectives is, in our time, more often a product of the left. The book depicts the extensive history of left-wing violence in America. Throughout the 20th century, leftist violence in America was widespread. In the 1910s, dozens of radical union organizers were convicted for organizing dynamite plots. Followers of Marxist anarchist Luigi Galliani were setting off bombs that overwhelmed the New York Police Department. St. Patrick's Cathedral was bombed in 1914. Bombs were discovered at the Bronx courthouse and at the Manhattan courthouse. Thanks to the infiltration of an undercover cop into the Gallianist cell, another plot to destroy St. Pat's was foiled. September 16, 1920, 100 pounds of dynamite planted by American anarchist fighters on the corner of Wall and Broad Streets exploded, killing pedestrians and ripping into the stock exchange and the J.P. Morgan building. In the 60s, there were hundreds of race riots. Weather Underground, you can go there if you want. The noted socialist Morris Janowitz observed that the actions of a militant vanguard at the forefront of the urban riots constituted political terror and even conspiratorial violence. Members of the Students for Democratic Society and its offshoot, the Weather Underground, led by radicals Mark Rudd, Bill Ayers, Obama's guy, Bernardine Dorn, studied Lenin, Mao, Che Guevara, and bomb-making manuals. The Marxist weathermen were responsible for bombings throughout the country in the early 1970s. May 19, 1972, the birthday of Ho Chi Minh. The weathermen bombed the Pentagon. Several members were on the FBI's most wanted list. This fetishization of violence, Rothman wrote, as a remedy to the abuses of the state, or even a general sense of ennui, is common among radicals and radical organizations. It crystallizes the callous but poetic notion that the blood of innocence lubricates the gears of history. Quote, that is the fiendish logic to which a subsequent generation of left-wing militants would also subscribe, unquote. And Rothman was right. His analysis explains why a UCLA poll indicated 20% of students said that violence was an acceptable means of protest against speakers with whom they disagreed. Similar survey at Yale University, students revealed that 41% of them believed that physical violence to prevent the dissemination of dangerous ideas is warranted. And of course, their idea of what dissemination of dangerous ideas was something that disagreed with them. The targeted assassinations and the directed riots will continue, Rothman concluded, so long as well-meaning liberals who would bend the system to mollify society's malcontents are engaged in a fool's game. They cannot appease their tormentors. They can only alienate their allies and convince their otherwise civic-minded neighbors that playing by the rules is a sucker's game. That sequence doesn't put a stop to the rhythm of radicalization. It only creates more radicals. So unless the leaders of the Democratic Party and sane liberals reject the intolerable and summon the courage to banish the purveyors of political violence, get back to what you're saying, no, that you can't arrest them, but they can't be stopped within their circles and through culture. But until that happens, the left-wing terrorists will be emboldened to commit more and more criminal acts. And now that's what you're seeing in New Jersey at the anti-ICE riots. It's the same stuff. It's the Democratic Party's own chaos and racism and and they're marching under Antifa flag.
Wow.
There and all that other jazz is being funded by Indivisible, which is a Soros-funded foundation. And that gets through Delaney Hall. Delaney Hall is a detention center
Right.
in Newark, New Jersey,
Right.
for ICE, U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement. And the agitators got word by somebody who just made an accusation.
Yeah.
There's no evidence of anything. Accusation that the conditions inside this facility and the food being fed is unacceptable. And because they're mindless little robots, animals and petulant children looking for a reason to be violent to get their way, and a lot of them are paid agitators, and they're being told
To say or do things. Yeah.
act this way, be violent, and you'll get a paycheck. They're out there. So you got this extremism, this agitation going on based on accusations with no evidence. Like I said, the Democratic Party these Democrats are then out there feeding it.
Yeah.
And then when the violence happens, well, we didn't tell them to get violent. Yes, you did. You just didn't say it in so many words.
Right.
And the rumors being spread by these Democrats about the horrid food being served to those detained in Newark. And, Fox News obtained the monthly menu for the facility. It looked like the offerings one might find at a moderately priced cruise ship.
Wow.
A lot of what's on that menu, I wish I had. But these so-called protests are not about conditions at Delaney Hall. They're about making a scene, a violent scene, to perpetuate the slanderous lie that ICE is President Trump's personal Gestapo. That's what it's all about. That's what they're doing. Because they believe that they can change things through violence. And somehow the people will eventually be with them. They get to the point where they even believe their own BS. There's like Antifa lunatics biting and leaving bloody open wounds on ICE agents. And then the governor of New Jersey says, oh, the ICE agents actually want Antifa lunatics to bite them, to accost them and get in the way of them doing their job so they can have an excuse to commit violence. So you're saying that they want violence so that they can commit violence. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. But this is the type of crap they say. This is the type of stuff that we're being fed. And it's because of a violent ideology fomenting violence. And they want the violence. Because that's how revolutions begin. United we stand, combined we kick butt. God bless America, my friends. God bless you. I am Douglas V. Gibbs. And I don't care what you say, 2020 Liberty. I appreciate you anyway. You not heard my tone get this loud in over 3 years? You haven't watched all my shows then. But thank you for being there. I am passionate about what I believe. I am originally from Southern California and was surrounded by the enemy. Shouting matches was the norm. People who are out of their mind, unreasonable, and will shout you down was the norm. So maybe that is a part of the reason why I elevate just a little bit when I give my presentations. Visit me at douglasvgibbs.com, douglasvgibbs.com. I write every day. On the video link, I put all my shows, including this one now. I'm starting to record them and put them on my Rumble and YouTube pages, and you can find them at the video link at douglasvgibbs.com. Honey, do you have anything else to add?
It was a great show.
Great show. I'm glad Brady the Warhamster joined us. First hour, yes. That was a great part of it as well. Alan should be back next week. It'll be me and Alan again. But if you enjoy me and Virginia together, even though I do 99% of the talking, our Friday show right here, Friday from 2 to 4 Pacific, 2 to 4 Pacific, 5 to 7 Eastern. We are right here on Patriot Soapbox, two of us. Yep. And she actually talks more on Friday, I think. Right? Don't you?
I think so.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Hey, I've got a lot to say. We used to do a show together way back in what was it, 2007, 2006. She quit the show because I was quote unquote too opinionated.
Yes.
But anyway. So thanks for spending the time with us, Chris. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. You too opinionated?
Yeah, nah, not
Where'd
me.
that come? That came out of left field. No.
Yeah, no, we used to get a lot of
Excuse me.
listeners too because we would back then we were newer as a couple, younger, and so we would kind of get into it, and people would enjoy the argument on the air. But she has since done some reading, some rethinking, reconfiguring, and we are much closer in our political thinking than we ever were. She still has the maternal instinct, still says things, yeah, but they're panicking. But
Mom.
you're still a mom.
A girl thing. It's feelings. It's a girl thing. That's
It's
the
a girl
gentler
thing.
sex. It's the
Yeah.
gentler sex. Yes. No, it's also things have happened politically
Yeah.
since just before Obama got into office. Think about how different it is now that a lot of people have shifted to the right because of what they're seeing. It's starting to scare
Right.
them. Yeah, so kind of like we told them, we tried to tell them, but yeah, they're
All right,
waking
well,
up, and that's a
come on.
good thing.
Come.
What you got? You got a puppy?
Yeah, this is
Oh.
Petey. He's actually not a puppy. He's 10, but
Oh, he's cute. He
yeah,
looks like a puppy.
he smells funny, but he's cute anyway.
Hey, that's a dog. They smell funny and they lick weird places.
Yeah.
And he just tried to give you a kiss.
Well, this guy is my shadow. It's funny because
Aw.
if I go to the restroom, he'll wait outside the door for
Hoss
me.
does the same thing. My cat.
And then the
Yeah,
other
my other
one,
cat, too.
the brown dog, who this is Petey. The brown one, his name is Link, and Link named after the Zelda character Link. Our grandkids named him. And he's a little fatter. He wants to be on my lap, but he can't make the jump. So sometimes I'll lower the chair all the way down so he can make it. That way he can sit on my lap for a while. He's 1 year older than this one. He's 11. He'll be 12 this year. This one will be 11 this year. And so
they look
Link
young.
follows me around a lot too, but he worries about Virginia. So like in the morning, if I'm in here doing something and this guy's with me, Link is usually in the hallway, kind of keeping an eye on both of us.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, he's
That's
funny.
good.
Or she's bothered, or if she's on the phone with her sister, he'll follow her around and spend time with her. Then usually he's with me, but he's very attentive. When she got real sick a couple of years ago when we first moved up here, I don't know if you remember that or not. I mean, talking
Yeah.
about it. And this guy was Link, the brown dog. He was like with her the whole time. I mean, he knew something was up. So
Is that
they are
something?
they are fun in that sense. But anyway, thanks for audience. You guys have been awesome. Thank you for thanking me. Definitely. And Tina Nan says she wants to join my membership. Hit join in the link bar there at DouglasVGibbs.com. $9 a month. It really helps fund what we do. Our funding right now is so low that I've moved my San Diego station AM and FM radio shows, both of them, both stations, one show, over to Rumble and YouTube now. So live on Thursday mornings at 10 and Saturday nights at 8, both Pacific. Mr. Constitution Hour, they are no longer on AM FM radio, but it doesn't mean we don't need funding just because I got rid of that. There's still funding we need. So if you want to help out, that's a great way to help. And of course, there's a donate page on the main page. I don't like asking for help, but it's just a reality of what I do. And buy my books, of course, DouglasVGibbs.com. At navigation2liberty.com is where my list of books is right now. We haven't gotten the books page up at DouglasVGibbs.com yet. Navigation, the number 2liberty.com.
Have you got your links on your Rumble channel? Like for your books and stuff?
I got my links for I got links for my website. Not all my books, but right now we're working on a books page. We're trying to connect it. We had a store, got rid of it. It was too much of a hassle. We lost our warehouse. It was costing too much money anyway, and I just didn't have the funding to keep up the warehouse. I mean, when the warehouse costs more than what you're making, you go back to using Amazon.
That's right.
So right now you can find my books at Amazon. But I do have a new one that I'm working on right now, The Constitutional Presidency of Donald J. Trump. And I answer all the arguments by the left about him being so unconstitutional, and I explain why they're not. So
I think it's funny that the left is suddenly concerned about the Constitution.
Well, they wrap themselves in the
Uh,
Constitution when they think it serves them. They hate the
yeah,
Constitution in reality, and
yeah.
usually they're speaking out against it. They want to get rid of the Electoral College. They want to kill the two per state Senate things because it's not fair that small states have such a big voice in the Senate because they're idiots. The left are a bunch of idiots. But yeah. Tuesday morning
They're-
at
yeah.
10. That's Thursday morning at 10. Walking on
Thursday.
Thursday. Tuesdays I'm on at. Let's see. And once again, this is Pacific time. Tuesdays I'm on at 3:30 p.m. and I'm at a different place. MrConstitution.com, mr-constitution.com. It's a friend of mine's page, Untold History Channel, and I'm on with him every Tuesday at 3:30 Pacific. But Thursdays at 10 a.m. Pacific, I'm on my Rumble channel and my YouTube channel. Best way to find it, Airplane Ears. We call him Bat Boy. So a child of the highest king says airplane ears. No, we call him. He got bat ears, man. He's Bat Boy, huh?
Yeah,
You a Bat
boy.
Boy? You Bat Boy?
Cute
got,
boy.
got his ears down now.
Yeah, he's embarrassed. He's been bashful. Too cute.
Yeah,
Too
he's a
cute.
good boy. He's a good boy.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Good company, it looks like, too.
So let me put him down. Let me lower my chair, see if we can get Link up here. Come on, Link. Come on. Come on. Come on. You can do it. You're too fat. Here, let me pick you up. All right.
Oh,
There's
oh,
Brown
look at
Boy.
there's Link. Hey,
Yeah.
Link. Linky.
So anyway,
No, Linky. Cute.
all right. I get that all wrapped on you. All right, hop down, boy.
I can't believe you guys have been there for 2 years.
Yeah, because you remember when we first moved up here.
Yes, I cannot believe it's been 2 years already.
Yeah, time
That's
flies.
insane.
Yeah, like
It
we're like a
does.
month away from 2 years.
That's crazy. Oh, you're indigenous now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's funny because I'm in the doctors a lot. I'm not I'm very private about my health, but I do have a lot of health issues. And one of the things that doctors have noticed is certain numbers have been getting better, including weight. And I'm not doing anything different. I'm just living different because we're up here. I eat real food, and I'm more active because I'm out there, on my tractor, and we're out there, knocking down the weeds. And it's like today I was, building a pantry in the game room, and
Nice.
just and it's healthier for us to be up here.
Yep. I agree. Yeah. So I can tell you've lost a lot of weight. Your t-shirt looks really loose on you. And I was looking at you thinking, man, he's lost a lot of weight.
Yeah. I think I have a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. But yeah, someone on the I think it was the Friday. I think Friday they said, was it? Yeah, I think it was Friday show. Someone says you're looking quite svelte, and I had to look it up. I didn't know what that meant, but it meant I was getting thinner, like I've been dieting or something.
Well, remember, muscle weighs more than fat. So if you're losing fat and putting on muscle, you're not going to it's not going to show up on the scale like you expect if you're going by weight. But if you're clothes, by how your clothes fit, you'll know.
Yeah, my weight has only gone down about 6.5 pounds.
Yeah, but
like my belt, I'm like 2 holes further tighter than I was when we first moved up here.
Yeah, and that's a lot more than 6.5 pounds when you look at it that way. But yeah, cool. I'm glad to hear that. That's as long as you're active and eating better, that's a key to getting rid. See, it's good to do that because then whatever's left over, if you still have any problems, it's a lot easier to figure out where it's coming from.
Well, and the farmer, so we have a farmer's market here. There's a local beef producer that's in our area. And I mean, it's totally natural. There's, none of that junk. And we have been slowly moving over to nothing but their meat. And until last month or two, we were still getting ground beef at the store, and now we're just even buying their ground beef. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's so much better for you. And for the first time with the new stuff, I made her a hamburger patty, the ground beef, and she goes, "Oh, what'd you do this one? It's really, really, God, it's like the best hamburger patty yet." It's not the stuff from the store; it's the real stuff. She's like, "Really?"
Interesting.
It's so much better for you. No hormones and chemicals and whatever other garbage they shove into it and feed these animals. And we get, the local fish. It's like last night we had some steelhead that a friend of mine caught, actually. It's just, we're just eating real food. We're eating better. We're more active, and it's just been good. But anyway.
That's the way it should be.
It's
Awesome.
your show. I'm going to let you have it, but thanks for
All
spending the
right.
time talking to me.
Yeah. Thanks for the great show. It was really good. It was good to see Brady again. He
Oh,
looks
yeah.
really good. He looked like he had a facelift or something, or laser
Nah,
treatments.
no, he
He looked
just,
fresh.
yeah. Hey, man, when you're a newlywed, you glow. All
Yeah,
right.
I suppose. Yes, he had that glow. He did. He
But
looked
anyway,
really good. I looked at him and was like, wow, you guys are all looking good. Well, tell Virginia, I said, have a
yeah.
great week. And she was wearing my favorite top again. I love that top
Okay.
she's wearing.
Yeah, yeah. She's funny because people talk about how lovely she is, and she is. But it's funny because until we moved up here, while we've always loved each other, we've been married, we had a relationship, but we really didn't get to know each other until this last couple of years. Now we really know each other, good, bad, in between,
Nice.
and we've
Nice.
gotten closer. It's a better relationship. So that's another great
Good.
thing that I think makes us look better too, is the fact that we're very happy.
God's blessing you abundantly. That's awesome. Very awesome.
All right.
That's how everybody should be. Well, you guys have a great week. Be blessed and
Thank
stay
you.
safe. And I'll see you Friday, I guess, or maybe if I can catch your shows this week. If I remember, I'm pretty busy, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right.
have a
Very
good
good.
one, you guys.
All right. We'll
Night
see you
night.
next time. Thanks for having me. Patriot Soapbox, you're awesome. Chat room, you're awesome. DouglasVGibbs.com. We'll see you next time. Thanks.
Bye bye.